morning. November 30th, Monday morning. And yesterday was the first day of Advent. Good morning, Daryl and Suzanne, which means that starts the whole liturgical calendar for the new year. So technically, according to the liturgical calendar, we've already started 2021. So that's good news. Despina, good to see you. Sally Crocker, Jan Akins, good morning to you. Barbara Richardson, I see all of you coming into the live stream. Janisa, good morning. Jim and Kathy, you. Welcome everybody. Steve and Andrea, good morning. There's my mom, good morning. So, in honor of the Advent season, today's the last day of November. Yesterday was the first Sunday of Advent. Mark and Deanne, good morning. Carmen Lego, good to see you. Mike and Kim, good morning. So this, I think for this week at least, we'll look at, and maybe the rest of December, we'll see. Just start looking at the anticipation of the Christ and the Nativity. So the Advent calendar starts 4 Sundays out from Christmas Eve, 3 or 4, and goes all the way through Pentecost. So you have Christmas, you have Easter, Passover, Easter, Good Palm Sunday. You have Pentecost after that, and so on. So that's part of the liturgical calendar that Western Christianity has observed. We observe part of those holidays, obviously, by celebrating Christmas Eve and Christmas and Easter and all those things at Grace. So anticipation of this season, I thought we'd take a look at some of the passages that anticipate the Nativity, anticipate the birth of Christ. And the first of which is found in Isaiah chapter 7, and it has to do with this verse that is quoted in the book of Matthew as it relates to Jesus. His name will be called Emmanuel because Emmanuel means God with us. And so that was what the angel said to Joseph, and said, this is a divine act. This is God's fulfilling prophecy that God will be with us in this child, Jesus. And so what's the backstory on that? It's not what you think. So the backstory is found in Isaiah, both in Isaiah and 2 Kings 16 and Isaiah chapter 7. And it has to do with King Ahaz. King Ahaz is the son of Uzziah. Uzziah, if you remember, if you know, just kind of putting the pieces together for your memory if you have this background of information. So Isaiah, if you remember, the very beginning of Isaiah, he was commissioned through a vision the year that Uzziah died. And so God gave him a vision. I'm going to make you a prophet. You're going to preach my message to God's people. And so when Uzziah died, who became king after him? It was Uzziah's son, Ahaz. Now these are kings in the line of David of the tribe of Judah. So at this point in Israel's history, Israel is divided. So you have a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. The northern kingdom is called Israel after the division, and the southern kingdom is called Judah. And the kings in the line of Judah, which is only Judah and Levi, are the two tribes that are kind of band together. And that's where the temple is. The tribe of Judah is where the line of David continues. So Ahaz is a descendant of David. But he's not a good king. The Bible tells us that he did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He made sacrifices to other gods. He even sacrificed his own son in the flames according to the pagan gods and so on. He was not a good king. But during his reign, he was only 20 years old when he came to, this is all, you can read all this in 2 Kings chapter 16. He was only 20 years old when he came into power, and anytime there's a shift in the kingdom, where you have one king succeeding another king, it's a time of instability. So the nations around that kingdom, if there's a brand new king on the throne, that's often the opportunity they take to try to test the power of that king during this unstable time of a power change. And so in that time, the northern kingdom, Israel, made an alliance with Syria, who was just north of them. They came together and they started attacking Judah. They laid siege to some of their fortified cities, and Ahaz was in trouble. He was brand new king, and he was trying to figure out what he was going to do. Well, Ahaz, not being a godly guy, decided he was going to make an alliance with the king of Assyria. He was going to call for the big guns to come down out of the north and attack these two kings that had tried to attack him, Judah. Well, God spoke to Isaiah, who is newly commissioned the year that Uzziah died. So this is about the same time as this power change that happens. And he says, hey, I got your first job. I want you to go talk to Ahab. Not Ahab. Ahab is another king in northern Israel. Ahaz. I want you to talk to Ahaz. And by the way, another prophet's alive during this time, the prophet Micah. Also the end of Elisha's career. Elisha is primarily talking to the northern kingdom. Anyway, God calls Isaiah and says, hey, you need to go talk to this king because he's about to make a decision that's not good. He's trying to make an alliance he's thinking about making an alliance with the king of Assyria. So Isaiah, in obedience, meets with the king Ahaz, the king of Judah, and says, hey, these two kings you're worried about right now, don't worry about them. God's got this. They're two smoldering stumps as far as God's concerned. He can take care of this. And he says something really important to Ahaz here. And this is in chapter 7, verse 9. He says this. It's a warning. He says, if you are not firm in faith, says, because Isaiah knows, none of this is spoken in Isaiah 7 about this plan in Ahaz's mind to make an allegiance with the king of Assyria. And God sending Isaiah there, this is all background stuff. God sending him saying, hey, I know what's in your mind. Don't do it. Don't make an alliance with some foreign king. Trust in God. So this is the warning he says. If you are not firm in faith, you will not be firm at all. And this is a warning, saying trust in God. If you don't trust in God, then your kingdom is not firm. You think it's firm, but it's not. Your rule and reign on the throne in Judah is from God. God is the one who put you in that place, and God's allegiance to a promise he made to David that only the descendants of David will sit on the throne of David. And so Ahaz is there by birth, not by his own character and nobility. God's saying, I could take you right off that throne. You need to trust in me. Don't trust in a foreign king. If you are not firm in the faith, you will not be firm at all. And I love that statement. And I didn't get a chance to journal about it completely this morning, but it's something I think we need to pause and consider more fully. Because, and let me tell you why. And because Isaiah's talking to Ahaz, but the word he uses for you, if you will not stand, firm in faith, you will not stand firm at all. The you there is plural. You don't see that in the English, but my Bible's translation alerted me to that all the yous in what's happening in this section are plural. So God is speaking to Ahaz specifically, but the reference is to all of the children of Judah, all of God's people. He's saying, hey, stand firm in faith. Don't, if you're not standing firm in faith, then you're really not, your foundation is not firm at all. It makes me think of Jesus' words when he says, the wise man builds his house on the rock. When the storm comes, his house will stand. But if he builds it on his house on the sand, when the storm comes, that house is going to fall. And it's a similar statement. that Isaiah makes to Ahaz, and by extension, everyone who is trying to decide whether they want to trust in God or not when times are rough, when there's a threat to their future. He said, your future's in my hands, God is saying. Stay firm in faith. If you're not believing in me, then your future is not very firm at all. What a powerful warning, powerful message. And how does this relate to Emmanuel, God with us? Well, Isaiah says, and he gives Ahaz a chance, an opportunity to respond in faith. He says, okay, I'm telling you, God's going to take care of these kings. Don't worry about it. Stand firm in faith. Don't trust in the king of Assyria. So to demonstrate God's faithfulness to you, he wants you to ask for a sign. He's going to give you a sign that says, yep, it's true. I'm gonna rescue you. So any sign you want. It says from the highest heights to the lowest lows, whatever it is, ask anything you want, and God will do it as a sign that he will protect you from these other kings. So Ahaz has a choice to stand firm in faith or to go ahead with the plan. He hasn't done anything about this plan yet. It's only in his mind. God's the only one who knows about this plan to make an allegiance with the king of Assyria. And Isaiah is trying to head him off at the pass. So he has a choice. And he says, if you believe God, he'll give you a sign, whatever sign you ask. So here's Ahaz's answer in, let's see, he says, verse 12. He says, but Ahaz said, I will not ask for a sign, and I will not put the Lord to the test. So it's kind of a sneaky answer. It has a false humility to it. Oh, no. I'm not going to put the Lord God to the test. I just, we'll just say, let's let our conversation end here that I have faith. I don't need any signs from God. Because he had already made up his mind. This was his answer. I've already made up my mind. I'm going to go to the king of Assyria. So, I appreciate what you're saying, prophet Isaiah, but I'm not going to ask for God for a sign. And he's kind of faking humility. I'm not going to put God to the test. Well, Isaiah is a prophet. He's speaking the words of God. So God puts some new words in his mouth. Oh, yeah? You're not going to trust in me? He says, this is Isaiah's response. So he said, hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary men that you weary my God also? So Isaiah is perturbed. Therefore, God is perturbed. He's not asking for this sign. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. So God's going to choose the sign he's going to give you. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey when he knows how to refuse evil and choose the good. For before the boy knows how to refuse evil and choose the good, the land whose two kings you will dread will be deserted. And so basically by the time this kid, who is not yet even been conceived, so this young woman is going to conceive. Now the word for virgin here is not an actual virgin. It's just a young maiden who could be married. She's going to get pregnant. I opened up a can of worms. Hold on. In Matthew, when he quotes this passage and says, a virgin shall be with child, he uses the technical word in the Greek for an actual virgin. Mary was an actual virgin. But in Isaiah, that's not the word that Isaiah used. So it could be so there's not another miracle here that a virgin gets pregnant. It's just that someone who is not yet had a child, who is of the age to have children, is going to get pregnant. They're going to have a son, and before that son reaches the age of accountability, of knowing right from wrong, these two kings are going to be laid waste. And that's exactly what happened. 12 years later, within the time frame of this prophecy, the king of Assyria comes down and wipes out the two northern kings, carries off Israel into captivity. This is what I think 705 BC when that occurred, and it happens. Well, so if you get all this backstory, this idea of the virgin will be with child and Emmanuel be his name is actually not good news. It's not good news at all. Because Ahaz is already said, I'm not going to stand firm in faith. I'm going to choose my plan. And Isaiah said, well, here's the sign that God's going to give you anyway. And God's going to visit you, and you're not going to like it. So it wasn't... Ahaz only was on the throne for 16 years. He was removed, and his son came to power, which I think is Hezekiah, a good king, right? I could be wrong. I have to go check that again. But I think it's Hezekiah is the next king. So yeah, I mean, in the context, this is all in the context of warning. Make sure you're standing firm in the faith. Trust in God. Don't trust in all these other things. Stand firm in the faith. Or this future that you fear is not firm at all. And God's going to judge you. God's going to visit you in a way you don't like. So all of that to say, that's the backstory of Matthew when it's quoted. The virgin shall be with child, and his name will be Emmanuel, God with us. Jesus comes to not just save all of humanity, but he also comes as a divine judge. Those who do not stand firm in faith, those who do not place their faith in Jesus, will ultimately face a future that they would not prefer, a future of judgment. And so that's both a blessing and a warning today. We have lots of challenges on the horizon of our own lives and so on, and those challenges, they cause us to question whether or not we're going to trust in God and stand firm in our faith. Therefore, our future that we fear will actually be secure, or we're going to do everything else we can to secure our own future, which is not a security at all because we're not trusting in God, who's the one ultimately in control of the future. So inaugurating this Advent season, we are looking forward to the birth of Christ, which is a symbol of our faith, of trust, that we are trusting in God alone for all these things that we tend to worry about in this life. Stand firm in your faith, or your future will not be firm at all. Trust in the one who has your future in the very secure palm of his hand today. Lord bless you. We'll see you tomorrow morning.